Hello everyone, welcome to Bargain Gaming, where we can play excellent games without busting our wallets. This is a special episode on Nobunaga's ambition, and we're here to try to understand what and why, what are the castle facilities and why are they important. So for this episode, let us work with castle facilities are special facilities, and usually we can, let's use Kasugayama. No, not Kasugayama. Odawara. Odawara is this huge castle here, and it has so many facilities. Meaning, assuming we want to improve it, see, look at the number of spaces on the up in the middle screen. It shows the number 1, 2, 3, 4. It has 20 building slots for improvements on the castle, and we can actually look and go in closer and look. So we built a tenshu here, so that means that is the biggest thing we can have available. Anyway, so it's got gate, and so this is castle facility. The lower right hand corner, it talks about castle facility. These castle facility is not very well explained in this game. So in this situation, in this particular episode, we are trying to understand what the castle facilities are and why and when do they pop up to allow us to build them. So by clicking on this, right now we have, so there are on all the grayed out areas from the depot to official trader, riding grounds, arsenal, deluxe baths, that's 5, and then tea retreat, chapel, Buddhist temple, shipyard, and foundry. So these castle facilities require only one slot, and in this case we picked for Odawara. I picked arsenal. And when will this castle facility, this castle facility is usually grayed out like these enclosures. So that thing pops up only when certain requirements are met. So for the depot side, so right now we have highlighted depot, and under the depot you have the description. Depot, it cost is 2,000. It requires only one space. A prerequisite is that it should have a fountain, and requirements are crops should be at 2,000. Crafts should be at 500 minimum, and conscripts at 750. Now, if we go to Arsenal, that the one that we picked, costs again also 2,000, occupies one space, building slot, and the requirements are it has access to iron. And the requirement on crops is 1,000, on crafts is 1,500, and conscripts 1,000. So let's go over each and every one. On the depot, so we talk about the requirements. What the depot brings to that particular castle is that resistance to blockades increases. Meaning when they do a siege, when they siege this castle, our resistance to it increases. That means it takes longer for the enemy to blockade us, to siege us. And because it takes longer, the enemy has the potential to run out of supplies. Even with a logistic perk, our troops on this game has only 120 days, including logistics, have 120 days worth of food. If they run out, the army disintegrates. So the resistance to blockade increases, harvest increases for this particular city or town, decreases provision consumption for units from this area. So in the past, right, because if our army leader has the logistics, we get 120 days worth of food. I don't know. I have not checked. Presumably, it might go up to 150 days of food on any campaign. So this is very good, especially when we're traveling through mountainous areas and this traveling is slow, because the best roads in mountainous areas are only level 3. Only the plains can have up to level 5. So that means our movement through it is very fast. Also, the movement speed of our army is also dependent upon the leader or the officer in charge. The officer in charge, if he has a speed perk, then he will move faster. And there are speeds that are better on mountains, and there are speed faster on plains. So, and the effect of depot increases with more exchanges and quarries within the city itself. So that's for depot. And so each one of these castle facilities has a benefit. So we're going over them. Official trader. Again, it costs 2,000, same space one, so they're all the same. It requires a trade port. And crops should be a minimum of 750. Required crafts should be 2,000, conscripts 500. Gold income greatly increases, population increases much more quickly. Sakai merchants come more often. So that means we can buy more trade goods for giving to our favorite generals or trying to bring up their loyalty. Or currently we have a mission to acquire 5 kinds of like legendary swords, because we have a sword saint as one of our samurais. There's a limited time to fulfill that. So we don't have access. If we don't have access to that, we will fail in that mission. So each facility actually has benefits, and this is, we're going through it. Riding grounds. Riding grounds, same. The requirement again, cost is the same, space is the same. So I guess all of them are the same, cost and space. And then requirements are horses should be within available in the city, that there's a horse farm or whatever in the city. And then usually it's in the Kai and what's the one north of Kai? Up here in the Shinano area. That's where horses are more often found. And let's go back to the castle facility. So riding grounds, and then crops required is minimum 1750, crafts 1,000, and conscripts 1,000. And with a facility as riding grounds, we receive horses once per year. Increases attack power of cavalry units coming from this base. And this effect increases with more ranches. And arsenal, which we picked for Odawara, against 2,000 gold and 1 space. And the resource requirement is it requires to have access to iron. And it has a minimum 1,000 crops, 1,500 crafts, and 1,000 conscripts. And resistance to storm attacks increases, and muskets receive once per year. So we get maybe a few hundred muskets every year. So over time, this picks up. Considering that current muskets, if we look at current musket value,
what would you like?
Muskets currently cost like 50 gold pieces per 10 muskets. So it's about 5 per gold piece. So they're very expensive. Unlike horses, it's only 33 per 10 horses. So that's 3.3 gold. So it's almost double the value of horses. Okay, let's go back to Odawara and go back to the castle facilities. So that's why getting a few hundred muskets every year, it adds up. It's pretty good. Anyway, and then it also increases the attack power of musket units coming from this base. So that's why that's the one I picked for this one, for Odawara. It's very hard actually to get all those requirements, like 1,000 crops, 1,500 crafts and 1,000 recruit. Let's look at Odawara on this perspective. So if we look at Odawara, look at Odawara. Odawara is a huge castle, and that is why it can have all of those things. You know, if we look at other stuff, it's very hard to meet the requirements. Like the smaller cities, these are plain cities, so they are pretty big. They have a lot of resources. But if we're talking about mountainous cities, it's very hard to get them. Like it's like 377, 443. Of course, these are not well developed, but they also have very little ground. You know, like when we look close, like we go close like this. Hold on. When we go close and look at them, see this city has 1, 2, 3, 3 developable areas, and 4 and 5. Okay, and 6. While if we're looking at the plains cities, they have so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8 on this side. And the huge towns like no, this is Oshi Castle, like Kawago, it has I think 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this side 8. I think 9 and 10. So even the small cities like this, these are, the Kawago is a castle, and these are just fortresses. Even a fortress like this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the small cities like this one, this is also a small city, but they're in the plains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So usually about 8. And big towns like Odawara, it has at least 10. You will see from here, it's like 10. It's like 3 on this side, 4, another 4, that's 8, and 2 more, that's 10. So these are huge cities. Anyway, so let's go back to the castle facilities, and then let's check on Odawara. So we have Arsenal, and then the next one is Deluxe baths. And so it requires hot springs and crops of 1,500, crafts of 1,000, conscripts of 1,000. So usually, that's why to get those, usually you need a big size city. There are some cities here, especially in the mountains, that have only 3 plots of land that are developable. And so they will never get, they will never have access to castle facilities, only the big cities. Most of the castles will have, but again, you have to make sacrifices. Unlike Odawara has 20 castle slots. If we count, like they're grouped into 5 per. So 5 times 4 is 20. And if we look at Katsurao, Katsurao has only 10. See, and it's a castle. And if we go down to Sanpu, Sanpu also has only 15. So Odawara is really, really powerful. Kasugayama might not have as many. Kasugayama has only 15. So Odawara is the best. I think Nagoya here is also very big. But Odawara is the biggest. It has 20 castle slots. So, okay, let's go back and talk about the Deluxe baths. So it requires 1,500 crops, 1,000 crafts, and 1,000 conscripts. Affiliated officers that are in the city, that stay or assigned to that city, overcome illnesses more easily, increases attack power of units at this base. So it doesn't matter whether they are infantry, muskets, or cavalry. So all of them. Unlike the arsenal, only the musket troops. And then I think the one with the horses, the riding grounds, only the cavalry. So this deluxe bath makes all the troops strong, regardless of type. And then the next one is Foundry. Foundry, again, 2,000 cost, one slot. It requires vein. Vein is primarily gold, silver veins. And so, and then it requires 750 crops, 2,000 crafts, and 500 conscripts. Now, I'm reading these out loud because sometimes when you view this in YouTube, it maybe the words are very small. I have a big screen, so I can read it easily. Okay, and then the advantages for these are resistance to blockade and burning increases. Maximum popularity increases, and this popularity increase even more with more exchanges and quarries. So that's why quarries are, when there are gold available, gold vein available, we have the option to build quarries, and then exchanges also. So, okay, and then shipyard. Again, 2,001 space. It requires a naval port. So those are pretty unique. It's not easy to find them. And then requires 1,000 crops, 1,500 crafts, and 1,000 conscripts. So that's why these castle facilities are usually grayed out, because these, to get to 1,000 crops, 1,500 crafts, and 1,000, that's total of 3,500. The castle has to be almost well developed, right? There are like 7 or 8 plots of land that has already been developed to get to that level. And if we're short on one, it will continue to be grayed out. It's only like to be able to get this to pop up, it will have to have those minimum. Anyway, so increases movement speed of the units based on this city when they're on water. Base units become stronger in naval battle, increases number of soldiers. Okay, it increases number of soldiers. That's pretty good in itself. And then a Buddhist temple, again, 2,000 gold and 1 space. It just requires officers. And then it requires 1,750 in terms of crops. Wow, this is pretty. That's 1,000 crafts and 1,000 conscripts. 3,750 rather than the earlier ones, only 3,500. Base units with conservative officers become stronger. Maximum popularity increases. Again, the popularity increases with more temple complexes. And chapel. Chapel, again, 2,000 cost, 1 space. It just requires officers. So this is in contrast to the Buddhist temple. This is just a little change, right? It's still basically 3,750 in total. 1,000, 1,750, and 1,000 conscripts. And then strengthens affiliated units that have creative officers. Maximum popularity increases. Same with the Buddhist temple. Effect increases with more cathedrals. Again, but this is only available after St. Francis Xavier discovers Japan and starts preaching the faith. And the faith, it doesn't get to your clan immediately. It is slowly propagated over years before it reaches you. It might reach, St. Francis Xavier might reach Japan, but it's only on the far western side. So if our country, if your daimyo or our daimyo, like us right now, is in the middle part, it takes a few years for Christianity to get to our one of our cities, and then we can do chapels. And then tea retreat, again, it costs 2,000 and 1 space. Again, it only requires officers. This is a little cheaper in the sense that 3,250. 1,750 in crops, 0 crafts requirement, and 1,500 conscripts. Base units with neutral officers become stronger. All of my created officers, this would be a good one for our current game, because all the created officers I made were all neutral based. They're either conservative, neutral, or intellectual. So I made them all neutral. And the maximum popularity also increases. Effect of popularity increases with more golden tea houses and large gardens. So that's it for. So again, I hope this was able to help people out there who are trying to understand castle facilities and how come it is almost always grayed out, because until you meet the minimum requirements, they will be grayed out, and as grayed out, they cannot be accessed. Anyway, I hope this was some helpful for you guys, and I hope you will continue to follow the game, because, like I said, this is one of the best empire building game out there. And in fact, it requires if you want to create your own clan, I would suggest creating a multi-generational number of officers. So you have grandparents, parents, and children, so that a span of maybe, think about a span of about 70 years or something like that. At least 50 years, especially if you have a few number of officers only. Okay, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you appreciate that the information given, and I hope to catch you guys in the rest of in other episodes that I post online. Okay, thank you guys for joining me on this episode. I will see you again in the next episodes. Bye.